What's up, everybody? Excel Dude coming at you again. Going to go over 25 interview questions for Excel and see how we can get through them as quickly as possible. And I've encountered probably, I'd say at least 22, 23 of these things, and yeah, you'll see them. We're going to have timestamps in the description, so click on down there if you want to see more. Number 1, what are common data formats? We start on the Home tab. If they asked you this, you'd say, well, there's general, text, currency, decimal, percentage, things like that. That's a good answer. No one's really going to ever question you on that. They're not going to ask you to look at all of these. But here's how you would go about finding it. If they said, show me how to change this to currency, you click here, general, and you would go currency. That's on the Home tab, right there. You can also do it with anything else. So let's say they wanted you to change it back to text. Same thing, Home tab, right there, text. Or you could go number and general. So you got that one, nailed it. How does Excel calculate? If you had a number, let's say two are multiplied together, another divided by another, but basically what's the order of operations in Excel? Well, just remember back to Algebra 1, PEMDAS. P-E-M-D-A-S, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, divide, add, subtract. So the standard order of operations, so equals PEMDAS, and parentheses, it's going to look for things calculated in between there, so 2 plus 3, and then exponents. So if we raise it to like the third power, for example, so we've got parentheses, exponents, then multiplication, so times 3, or divided by 3, and addition and subtraction, plus 1 minus 1. But that's the order it would go in. If these were all mixed up in any order, it would go based on this. First in those parentheses, then whatever exponents there were, then multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. These two are, the multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction are necessarily, it's not like they'll do them in just multiplication then division, but it'll do them with essentially an equal weighting. But you get it. PEMDAS, same way you did it in algebra. You got that one down too. Then, what's VLOOKUP? How does it work? This is one I definitely run into. So we'll do an example here. Let's say we want to find the #1 ranked player, which is Steph Curry. How do we do that with a VLOOKUP? A VLOOKUP takes the leftmost item in a column, so right here, one of these left items, and it looks up one item to the right. That's all it is. You find your left reference, and it finds the item to the right. So what you would do equals VLOOKUP, and we want to look up what value? #1, comma, and what's the table array? So where are we looking that value up? We've got our first lookup value in this column, and the next one right there. And the column index number, column 1, column 2, because we want the second one, we want his name. And do we want it to be true or false, approximate or exact? We want to do exact, so we can either type in false, or you can hit a 0. 1 is true, 0 is false. Close the parentheses, hit enter. So it looks up an item, it uses a reference item on the left, looks up an item on the right. There's VLOOKUP. Explain a pivot table. Show me. Sure. A pivot table is a way to summarize data. It's a way that you can flexibly move columns and rows and values all around, things like that. And all we'll do there is you would go Insert, Pivot Table. It would select a lot of these. You want to make sure you have your labels. And you can have it go to a new worksheet or an existing one. We'll go existing because we just want to do it here. We're going to delete it in a minute. Hit OK. And if we were going to show it, we would say maybe we want rank, we want the players, and we want, actually no, we'll do this. We want players, we want positions, and we want total points. And there's our pivot table. So it's taken all this, manipulated it around in a way that it's flexible. We can change it. We can put positions right here. We can put players above that. We can do that over there. You get the idea. But that's a pivot table. So now you can do that. And what's a spreadsheet? What's the difference between that and a workbook? A spreadsheet, it's just kind of the synonymous term. Sometimes people use it to refer to a worksheet, which is what we're in right here. A spreadsheet would be, say, this one. Well, spreadsheet's, again, synonymous. It refers to multiple things. The worksheet, one individual page that we work on, or a workbook, which could be multiple pages here. So if we were doing this, wow. So a workbook would refer to every one of these sheets. A worksheet is just this one. That's another worksheet. But combining these two, we'd be talking about a workbook. And that's all that one is. Okay, so we have that. Now, show me some formatting. Maybe they say, I want to see different formatting. I need you to make all these names in italics. Okay, highlight it, and we're going to be on the Home tab. Just like with Word, PowerPoint, everything, it's right over here. Italic, hit that. If you want these in bold, select those, bold. Maybe these need to be centered. You can select those, hit center, and you get the idea. But basically, this is pretty much how you would do it. Maybe they want these underlined, same kind of thing, and in bold. So you've got that one. And what functions do you use most often? This is where they're kind of asking to see what you're looking for in terms of, like, what do you usually use in your day-to-day? So if you use sum, that's a good one. If you use VLOOKUP, great. Index match instead of that, fantastic. Pivot tables, sum if, maybe if error. That's one where you just got to review the functions you use, how you might use them together, things like that. But keep it short. They really just want to see what you know about Excel and what you often use, so what you're capable of replicating on a daily basis. What's the ribbon? How are the tabs on it different? All right, this is the ribbon, this beautiful, colorful thing here, and it just gives us access to basically everything, on all the functions in a certain group. So we have our Home tab, that's one. Insert is if we're going to add something to the worksheet, maybe a chart. Slicers, pivot table, things like that, shapes, pictures. Page layout, you can change how the page looks to you right here. You can make it where the margins are wider, landscape, portrait, that kind of thing. Think like in Word when you rotate a page. You can do this with your grid lines, all that good stuff. Headings. Formulas, if you're going to enter a formula and you don't know what you're looking for, you can go right here, insert function, search for it, that type of thing. But they're basically groupings in the ribbon, a tab is, groupings in a ribbon that allows you to access certain functions. Then we will go to explain a function. Why would you use one? A function is essentially a complex action is how I think of it. Maybe you want to add all of these up, or you want to get an average of how many games each person has played. You could do that. A function would be average, the average function. And you would use it here to execute a complex operation. So essentially not 1 + 1 = 2, although you could do that. Do this, and instead of adding this, and so on, and then dividing all of them by the number of observations, just hit average. That's a function. It's essentially shortening your work, and it's something that will update automatically. It removes a lot of the chance for human error there. Then we will go right over here. What's a logical statement? Show me an example. Perfect example is if. So if is it's a logical statement in terms of it's going to give you a result based on what the answer to the question was before. So right here we want to see, we'll go on Steph Curry. We'll look at that. If it is Steph Curry, let's say the answer is yes, so then it's going to show us the amount of, let's say, games he played. So equals if, checks whether conditions met, and returns one value, true and false. Logical test. If this equals this, if it's true, let's say we want to do a VLOOKUP. We want to find the games played. And you can throw these right in here. Find that value on the left side. And we will be looking over here, and remember, you see this 5C right here? That 5C means it's the fifth column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth column, and we want it exactly. So that's our true statement. So if this equals Steph Curry, then it's going to do a VLOOKUP and find how many games he played. And if that's not true, you can make it say nothing. You don't have to enter an argument here. It'll just show you an error if it's not Steph Curry. Or you can use this one as well, another logical statement, if error. So if the error is true, which means this argument would be false, we're going to have it say nothing. It'll be blank. Or let's see, not Steph. And if it's an error still, we'll keep it blank. Close those, Steph Curry, and let's say we want to pop in this one, Bradley Beal. Not Steph. You see, that's a logical statement. So you have an idea there. I would probably run through that example a few times, practice that. You're going to have those mastered. And specific function syntax questions, this, okay, so I put this one here. It's a terrible question. I get mad when I get asked these because I don't memorize what the stupid syntax is. There will be some people that do. So if they say, describe to me the syntax of a VLOOKUP, what they're talking about is this. You would find your lookup value, lookup table array, or your table array, then your column index number, and the range, whether it's true or false. That's what they're talking about with the syntax. That's kind of a silly question, but at the same time, they'll be testing you on it if they really want a certain one. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, but it is one that I regularly get. So an absolute versus a relative reference. Right here, we have this VLOOKUP. Well, let's just do this. Equals, and we're going to say this. So we want this cell to show the value here. Now if we copy it, we see that it's just C14. It's looking at equals C14. If we put it down here, you'd think it'd show us 58, but it won't. It's going to be blank. Why? It's going to be a 0 because it's equaling C15. So right here, we have C14, but we moved this one down. So this one's looking here. We moved it down here. It's going to look here. You see? Boom. Down 1. So an absolute reference is basically when you do this. That cell that you're looking at, basing a value off of, you want to lock it down. That is an absolute reference. You are absolutely referencing that exact cell. There is no changing when you move the cell. And the way you do that, you hit F4, or you can put a $sign in front of each of these, both the column, C, and the row, 14. Hit Enter. And then if you copy that, Control-C, Control-V, it'll say that, and we can put it all over here. It's still going to show the same thing. That's an absolute versus a relative cell. You're basically telling it, do not ever move. Some best practices you use, excuse me. If you're doing something in, let's say, a model in Excel, you've got, you're building maybe a financial statement model or something that has multiple inputs. What you're going to do there is you want to typically do best practices is you keep different sets of data on different tabs. You use absolute references when possible. If something needs to, if there's a total, you want to use a sum function or add them up with a formula. You don't want to ever hard code it in there. You want to eliminate as much human error as you possibly can. That's typically the way I go with that question, and it's worked out pretty well. Most difficult Excel problem you've solved. I can't really speak to you on that one, but just be prepared for it. And add comments in a cell. Can you do it? If so, how? Absolutely. You click on the cell, and there's two ways. You can right click, and you'll go, where is it? New comment. Games played. Okay. And we see the little tab there. There it is. You can also do this. If you're on a cell, you can go Insert, Comment. And if we go here, what do you know? We have both comments. And you can delete them the same way. Delete the thread, all that. How to use shortcuts. How would I see what cells were inputs of a function with one key? This is one I've gotten a few times. So shortcuts. That's just using the keyboard instead of the mouse. That's all that is. So like Control-C Control V, that kind of thing. And you'll see that right here, maybe we want to see what's in this cell. You click on this, it's not Steph, you're like, why is it saying that? I have no idea. That's not a problem. Hit F2, and it shows us everything. The blue, right there, the first part, and it's trying to find the value right here. It's not there. And then is the lookup value right there. Points leaders, there's the box we're using, and that's pretty much it. So F2 right there, you got that one down. Hotkeys to add or delete a worksheet or column, definitely. So you can do that. What you can do adding a worksheet, you can either click right there, or another hotkey is you hit Alt H for home, because we're going to the home tab, then I for insert, which is right there, and then S for sheet. And you got it. And then if we wanted to delete a worksheet, we can do the same thing. It's Alt H DS for the worksheet. And a column, we can go Alt H I, because again, home, insert, and C right there, column. And to delete it, Alt H D C. That's that easy. What's a macro? Macro is a recorded series of steps in Excel. There you go, problem solved. And if you have to do that, you can always record one. There's two ways you can do it. One is with VBA. I doubt that's going to be asked. Two, you can also record it in two ways. You can hit the View tab, Macros, Record Macro. So if you did something like that, you would go here. Yeah, we'll call it Macro 1. Sure. Okay. We're going to click here. Home, Sort and Filter, Filter. And I want to see just Boston. Okay. Then you'll go to View, and you will stop recording. The other way is if you use an add-in, the developer add-in, which you would go File, Options, Add-ins, and so on. We'll go through that later. And then you could do a macro here. This is more macro specific, but you can also do it through the View tab. And if you wanted to run that, all you would do, clear that, we would remove this stuff. So we get rid of our filters, and maybe we're here. Sure. Then we'll go with View, Macros, View Macros. We had this one we recorded. We'd name it something else, Run. And there it is. Maybe you have to do that every time you open a spreadsheet. Problem solved. You have yourself a macro. Now we're just going to go to the next one. Build me a chart. Sure. All you would do is pick the data you want, player, and let's say points. Insert. So you've highlighted these. Insert. And we'll go recommended charts. Good way to start. And if they don't tell you which one, that's totally fine, but there are different ones. Charts, just get familiar with this menu right here. They'll tell you all the different stuff. Hit OK. And there you go. You've got yourself a chart. You can even change the formatting right here, get fancy with it if you want. You get the idea. Then we're going to go, can you lock a worksheet or specific cells? If so, how? Yeah. So we go here, Review, on this tab up here, and you can do Protect Sheet. All we're going to do, if you want to put a password on it, we'll say password. Okay. Yep, you can unprotect it. But the idea is to not let anyone change anything. So ideally, you'll hit this, select everything, Protect Sheet. And if you try and change it, you get this error right here. Unprotected. Works the same way with protecting the workbook. The sheet is just this. A workbook would be if you had a bunch of tabs right here. All of those. And how can you view your worksheet in multiple monitors? Yeah, this is definitely a problem before. Right here, we're on the Home tab. All we're going to do is click the View tab. And maybe you have two monitors. That's what this is for. You just hit new window, and we now have this. So you see we have our data right here, and also our data right here. So nothing too crazy, but you can put this on one monitor, this on the original, and you can work in different areas. Then can you spell check it? Absolutely we can spell check it. I do it all the time because I can't spell very well, unfortunately. Just go review, spell check. Do you want to continue checking? Yep, at the beginning of the sheet. Why not? So we have that. Rank. You can ignore. You get the idea. It's the same as in Word. And also there is a hotkey for it. It is F7. So all you do, F7, you're in your spell check. And do you record a macro? We actually did that one already. And you freeze the top row in a worksheet. Good one. So you click the second row, whatever's below what you want frozen. So you can do this, and so on. We go, view, freeze panes, freeze top row. And if we're scrolling down, you see that this one won't move. There it is. And to undo it, freeze panes, unfreeze. If you wanted to freeze the columns, or let's say everything, maybe over all the top row and these ones, freeze panes. You could freeze the first column, freeze those. So we have that. And you'll see that none of it moves. That's pretty much it for that. Then how to remove grid lines. This one's kind of, I don't know, some people like it, some don't. But again, we're still in the View tab, grid lines. Voila, we're done. That's it. So that's 25 good Excel interview questions. If you can get through these, you can get through pretty much any Excel interview you would ever need to go to. So I'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button if you like this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.